Hey guys, welcome back to Jinxie Cat Vapes. Today we're going to be doing an introduction into vaping video. So this is going to be geared more towards smokers that want to switch to vaping or new vapors out there that just want to, know a little bit more about it. But before we dive into that, when you're thinking about getting any kind of vaping device, you really got to think about what you're looking for in it. Do you want it to be small and compact? Do you want it to be larger with a larger battery life? Do you want it to have like variable settings where you can set it to like the vape preference that you want? You really got to think about all these aspects before purchasing one of these items, so to make sure that you're happy and it's going to be good for you. And what might fit somebody else might not fit you, and this and that. So you really got to decide what you want. With that being said, the world of vaping can be super confusing, especially with all of its terms out there. So I want to kind of dive into those and talk about those more in depth. I think that's like the important part of this. But let's get started with some of the starter kits that are out there that will help you get off the cigs or just help you kind of move up if you're already vaping. The one that I try to direct everybody to go to, and I always use Mount Baker Vapor as like my sole site right there. MountBakerVapor.com. I'll have a link in the description below. But it's a great website. You go on there and you're not overwhelmed or bombarded with all these products, right? It's very simplified. You have your starter kits, your advanced e-cigs, you have your accessories, and it's laid out perfectly. And their prices are great. The shipping is great. I really have no complaints from them. So let's talk about the Kanger EVOD starter kit. This is the one I direct everybody if they're thinking about switching from smoking to vaping. I start them on this. It's very simple, less fuss, and it's cheap. It's cheap to start off with. So the kit is $39.99 on MountBakerVapor.com, and it comes with two of these EVOD Ego style batteries right here, and it's a very no hassle battery. There's no adjustments at the bottom. It's 3.7 volts, got a nice little light up button, the Ego 510 threading on the top for your tanks. The kit comes with two of these batteries, two of the tanks, 5 replacement coils for the tanks, a charger, and a free bottle of juice from Mount Baker Vapor of your choice, which is awesome. So it really comes with everything that you're gonna need to vape right out of the box, and you'll get it in a couple days. It's amazing. The other one that I like to point people at is if they had the EVOD already and they're like, oh, I kind of want to bump up my vaping experience possibly, is to go with an Ego style battery, an Ego like C-Twist. So this one's going to be a little bit bigger than an EVOD, but it's also going to have a longer battery life. I believe this one is a 900 milliamp hour battery life, and milliamp hours just means, or milliamp hour or mAh just means the life of your battery, how long it's going to last when you're vaping. The higher the milliamp hour or mAh, the longer you're going to be able to vape with it. So this one is a little bit bigger, but it does have a longer battery life. And the biggest difference with this one is it has the adjustable dial. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see this on the camera, but there's the little adjustment dial down here that you spin to adjust the volts. And I'll go in a little bit more detail in this in a minute, but the volts, basically you adjust that. The higher the volts, the more power that's going to your coil, and the more vapor you're going to get. The hotter the coil is, the more vapor that's going to come out of your, of your tank. So this is also a good one to start off with. This is actually almost the exact same setup that I started off with when I quit smoking in February of this year, 2014. And I started off with an Ego battery such as this, and actually a cartomizer tank. And these cartomizer tanks, they're kind of old news now. There's still people out there that love cartomizers, but technology has just gone so fast with vaping that they're becoming obsolete. But a cartomizer is basically, there's a coil in this right here, like a pre-made coil, and there's this filler material on the inside that gets all nice and wet with your juice. Has a little hole to suck up the juice with. You stick that in one of these carto tanks that hold all your e-liquid, and you're good to go. Pop a drip tip on there, and you're vaping. That's exactly what I started off with, and it was perfect because it gives you that same style of draw as a cigarette, a nice tight draw, and it was perfect to start off coming off of cigs. Then I moved up to a tank, like an EVOD or a Pro Tank Mini like this that holds a little bit more e-liquid, has replacement coils, a little bit easier to handle. So yeah, you can get one of these EVOD Twist batteries. They have them in a 600 50 milliamp hour battery life or a 900, and that's basically, you know, the life of your battery or the size of it. And they're around $12.99, super cheap. That's just for the battery though. The other starter kit, and then this one is not going to be for somebody that's coming right off of cigs, but someone that's been vaping and wants to like up their experience a little bit, is the MVP 2.0 kit, and it's $59.99 from Mount Baker Vapor, and it's this big guy right here. And that was the biggest turnoff for me, was the size of this. When I first looked at it in a brick and mortar store, I was like, oh, that's way too big. I'll never use that. Eventually, I got one because I was intrigued by it, and it's amazing. It's like 4,600 milliamp hours, something around there. But the battery will last you like 3 days without having to charge it. It's got variable voltage, variable wattage, so you could pretty much set it to your preference of vaping style. You could even, like the bottom here, you could even like charge your cell phone and whatnot. It's got the USB in, USB out settings, and it has both Ego and regular 510 threading and connection at the top there, so you could use pretty much any tank you want. And just put one of these little rings on there to make it fit flush and look good. So yeah, that's the iTaste MVP 2.0. Alrighty, I just want to talk about real quick about ohms, volts, and watts. That can be pretty confusing at times. So the ohms, when you hear somebody talking about your ohms or anything like that, it's basically they're talking about the resistance of the coil in your atomizer, the resistance of your atomizer. It's basically a unit of measurement. So it's measuring the resistance that's on your coil, that's, you know, that's in your atomizer, that's producing the vapor. Volts, that's basically the power, you know, like how much volts, how much electricity is getting transferred to that coil or atomizer to make it vape, to produce that vapor. So the higher you have, the higher volts that you have, you're going to have more power going to that coil, more vapor, more heat than less volts. Wattage is basically like a set and forget type of tool. You know, adjust your wattage according to like how you like it, how you like it to taste, and then it automatically adjusts the volts to the ohms of your coil or your atomizer. So it's kind of like comparing like a stick shift car versus an automatic car. A stick shift, you actually physically have to shift it. That would be equivalent to your, you know, adjusting your volts. You physically have to change your voltage depending on what your ohms are on your atomizer. So you can't just, you know, if I were to take off this tank and put it on something else, you should adjust the volts according to what the ohms are. So it makes you have to do a little bit more calculations, you know. So variable wattage is my preferred way because I don't have to do that. I can just set it to the watts that I like, and it adjusts it for me. So no matter what I put on, no matter what tank I use on that device, it's always going to give me the same consistent vape. And that's why I'm a huge fan of variable wattage. The other thing I wanted to talk about was VG versus PG. You hear about this a lot in e-liquids. VG versus PG. So VG is vegetable glycerin and PG is propylene glycol. Both of these are non-toxic substances that are found in like everyday food items for the most part. They're organic compounds, and they use them as like, you know, as basis for this vaporizing material. So usually e-liquid is comprised of around 4 ingredients. You have your VG and your PG, you have your nicotine and your flavorings. And you know, usually in the flavorings there's like a little bit of water content in there, but that's it. So just to keep it real simple, VG is going to be a little bit more viscous, a little bit more thick of an e-juice, and it's going to give you a lot more vapor production, those big clouds. When you see people blowing those big clouds, that's a higher VG content of e-liquid. PG is going to give you sometimes a little bit more flavor, but a little bit more throat hit too. You'll feel that thump to your back of your throat, but less vapor production, and it's very watery. So, you know, a lot of people, when I tell people when they're just starting off on the vaping, I tell them to get like 50-50 blends for the most part, because you can use them in pretty much anything. They're not going to be too watery, and they're not going to be too viscous for a tank. They're perfect. They give you just enough vapor production, and they're all around. That's a good blend. It's a 50-50 blend. So yeah, guys, if you're looking at getting into vaping, or you want to just, check out a little bit more stuff and expand your, your vaping collection, check out Mount Baker Vapor. It's a great website. You can get e-juice there for super cheap. It's one of the cheapest on the market right now. You can get a 15 milliliter bottle for, around $4.99 to $5.99. And they even have this, you can customize every juice that they have too. You customize your PG and your VG. If you want a 50-50 blend, you can make it a 50-50. If you wanted a max VG, get a real thick juice, you can make it max VG. It's completely up to you. They even have this option where you can make your own e-juice, which I've been experimenting a lot lately. And so you can put whatever flavorings you want in there, kind of experiment, make something that you'd like. And it's a totally awesome feature. So yeah, check out the website. If you guys have any comments, concerns, or questions in general, please feel free to leave a comment below. Email me at jixiecatVapes@yahoo.com. I'll respond as fast as I can. I want to help you guys out there. So yeah, I really want to thank you guys for sticking around and watching me. Please remember to subscribe, and I'll see you again next time. Take care, guys.